Welcome back to the Blog Boy Roundtable presented by the Bay Area Examiner. I am Seth Varnador of the Bay Area Examiner, joined by Anthony Vito, Nathan Bond, and Robert Stieg, also of the Bay Area Examiner. And then we have Nick Saban of DraftKings Network. And you're looking at a bunch of winners here. 20 picks last week. We went 17-3. Pretty good week, and we needed it because we were spiraling. We were in a death spiral the previous 3 weeks. So
not bad
big
at all,
help.
gentlemen. Not bad at all.
Big help. Sitting at 98 and 82 for the season, so we're over 54%. So we're in the money here. Pretty good. We all picked Georgia, or Vito went over. That kind of went how we thought. There was a little dissension on Oregon. I don't think any of us, even the people that picked Oregon, I think that's the game to talk about from last week. Did anybody think it was going to look like that?
Yeah, I picked Utah, and that within the first couple of drives is like, oh no, that I thought the home field, because they had an 18-game home winning streak heading into that, and it's like, okay, if anyone is gonna MacGyver their way into keeping up with Oregon, it's gonna be Kyle Whittingham, and nope, Oregon put that one to bed really quickly. That's the only one I messed up last week.
I figured that Utah's 35-point output against USC the week prior, 38-point, whatever it was a flash in the pan because Alex Grinch is quite literally the worst defensive coordinator this side.
More on him later.
Quite literally, Glenn Spencer and Bob Shoop, they are just horrific. He is just so bad. So you get a defense in Oregon that has a pulse. That's really what you needed. Just a defense with a pulse against a backup quarterback. They had no shot. Oregon's offense looked great, and it was over. I'm so glad I hit that one.
I thought the jig would be up for Utah, but I didn't think it would be as bad as it was. Oregon's really good, and they just kind of are a couple screw-around plays from being undefeated and that probably being in that playoff mix. They're firmly in the playoff mix now, but being kind of in that top four there. They seem to be, and we'll talk about the team they lost to, Washington, here pretty soon, one of our games of the week, but they seem to be the best team in the Pac-12 right now, and it looks pretty good. We all had Louisville except for Paige, who picked Duke. And now it's just about figuring out what her punishment will be for clinching the worst record in the Blog Boy Roundtable.
We've already discussed the Waffle House challenge is out, unfortunately. She would actually die. Legitimately, I don't think her stomach would allow her to consume that many waffles. So we'll come up with something for the worst record of the Blog Boy and Girl Roundtable here. We'll come up with one.
Worst record in show history, sadly. I mean, unless she could. I guess we could get if she feels strongly about another game later on in the year, she can double or nothing it, I suppose.
We'll give her one redemption shot at the end of the year. We'll give her national championship pick.
Have her start doing her research. And then pretty good off the board last week as well. FSU minus 20.5 seemed pretty easy. Vito calling the Kansas +9. That one had to feel pretty good right there.
Man, I didn't expect them to win outright, but that +9 was way too much at home. And for some reason this year, we got to get this stat, fellas. The home teams have been killing it this year on either covering or winning outright. It seems like home field advantage is alive and well this year. But, man, once Kansas actually won that game, it felt a lot better picking that game.
And Nick's sicko under in the Mississippi State Auburn game held on, and I know you're sweating it a little bit.
I was sweating that out because it was 27-13 for a good chunk of the fourth quarter. Mississippi State had their opportunity to score, they didn't, and then even on the last Auburn drive, they had a huge gain, and there was an opportunity for them to put another score on the board. But fortunately, it just got unfortunately they ran enough time down to where it's okay, we can just run and kneel this out. So got it in. Thank you, Hugh Freeze.
Big win for the sicko under 41.5 there. And we'll go ahead and start moving on to this week. Really good week, actually. It was tough to kind of whittle it down to 3 games, but we've got a little bit of flavor all across the country here. We'll start in the noon window. I'm guessing this is the big noon Saturday game. Kansas State at Texas. Texas is a 4-point favorite. The total is at 49.5. Texas is playing a backup. Kansas State's pretty hot. Nathan, what are you thinking in Kansas State at Texas?
Texas. I think even with the backup quarterback, Malik Murphy playing, they just still have a lot more talent than Kansas State, regardless of what they're doing over there. And I respect what Kansas State's doing, but Texas is kind of the real deal outside of a mishap or 5. I enjoy watching this Texas team. I think they'll be up for it. I know it's already dropped to -4, which I love. I was still going to take them at -4.5, but -4 makes it a little bit easier to
push protection.
Yes,
little push protection. Steeg, where are you heading this one?
My vision is averted because I'm paying attention to a hard-fought football game happening at Corvette Stadium right now. My gut is saying to pick Texas because obviously the talent differentiation is there, but the hilarious thing of Texas is back and then Texas is not is also creeping in the back of my mind here, and just like nothing would be funnier than just like Texas like not really going out with their tail between their legs, like kind of not beating some teams that they used to beat the hell out of because now they're going to be leaving for the SEC. So I'm going to pick Kansas State because that'd be funny.
Wouldn't it be funny? Pick is always a sound strategy. Where are you headed?
The wouldn't it be funny is my favorite way to pick. So I'm kind of leaning. This is a game I think Kansas State had circled, and everybody wants to take a shot at Texas as they go out. But Texas is at home. They are undefeated at home. Don't forget that one loss was a neutral loss game. Kansas State's also been doing what they've been doing, their dual quarterback system against Houston, TCU, and Texas Tech. Not exactly a murderer's row the past 3 games. I think Texas's defense is going to be able to hold them back with the tape out there. Malik Murphy's still athletic. They still have a lot of athletes there. I think -4.5 for Texas is good. If this was flipped, I actually want to go Kansas State, but I'm going to go with the home team here.
Yeah, I think for me that's kind of my biggest kind of. I'm going to go Texas as well, just because they're home. I'm just looking here. It looks like Kansas State is 1-2 on the road this year. They are 5-0 at home, I believe. So that is interesting. Nick, which way are you leaning here? We've got 3 Texases, 1 Kansas State. Who are you siding with? Or do you go to the total, 49.5?
Yeah, I'm going to defer and go to the total and go with the over here. It's a very fascinating game because it's another like one of these like de facto elimination games, considering both teams are tied in the Big 12 standings. And this is a very interesting and weird game because, of course, like you guys just mentioned, Texas has Malik Murphy, backup quarterback. Kansas State has like this weird dual quarterback thing where Will Howard will start, but then they'll bring in the freshman Avery Johnson who can move around just a little bit. In his debut, he scored 5 rushing touchdowns. It's tied a school record a couple weeks ago, so that was pretty impressive. This is a game where both teams are gonna basically run they're gonna both try to establish the run here. Kansas State has a couple of great running backs and DJ Giddens and Treshaun Ward, whereas Texas has Jonathan Brooks, CJ Baxter, Jaden Blue. So it's gonna be a fun ground sort of game here. So I'm just gonna go with the under, or not the under, the over here, and just watch as these 2 teams kind of try to batter each other on the ground.
All right, that's 1 for the over. So 3 Texas, 1 over, 1 Kansas State. We're moving on to a couple teams we've already talked about. We got Washington is a 3-point favorite on the road at USC. The total is 76.5. This is really a question of, is it as simple, Nathan, as I guess we'll go start with Vito here. And no, let's start with Nathan because you hate Alex Grinch so much. Is it as simple as you pick against Alex Grinch?
Correct. It is
Okay.
quite literally that simple, especially when the line is only -3. Like, Caleb's great, but it's clear he's not good enough to cover up the fact that Alex Grinch is literally the worst coach in college football. And that's saying a lot because there are some really bad coaches out there. He is the worst guy in the country at doing his specific task. And I trust this USC defense is the elixir that has ailed this Washington offense the last couple of weeks, and they have looked atrocious. If we're being candid, the Huskies on offense the last few weeks, some terrible turnovers by Michael Penix. But again, always bet against Alex Grinch being competent at his job.
I think that's kind of the one thing that gives me pause is you look at some of the advanced stats, and Washington is not good at stopping the run or running the ball on offense, and USC can run the ball a little bit. So that is kind of the one thing that gives me pause, but it's kind of like, what can you rely on? I think you can rely on both offenses, and you can rely on USC's defense being really bad. So I feel like I have to go with Washington as well, just kind of by default almost. So I'm riding with Washington as well. But it would be interesting to see if USC can. Do you think they will? We'll go to Nick next. Do you think they will actually try to stick with that run game? They've had some success with it, or do you think they'll get Lincoln Riley will get a little past that? He runs the ball more than people think, but
their run game has been incredible this year. Like, it hasn't just been like the Caleb show. I agree with all of with everything you just said with Alex Grinch, but I'm gonna go with USC here at home because let me point some things out with Washington, because Washington's been fantastic. Michael Penix, obviously great. He's the Heisman front runner heading into this game. But the last 3 weeks, this Washington team has been outgained on offense by their opponents in all 3 of those games. And even worse is that their turnover margin in that span is -6. So 7 turnovers to just 1 takeaway. And in fact, their turnover margin for the entire year is -3, which that's not great. And when you're getting into a potential gunfight like this game is going to be against the reigning Heisman Trophy winner with an incredible run game that USC has, you can't afford to make that many mistakes. Alex Grinch's defense be damned. Like, you give the ball away, you can't afford that. So yeah, I think that this is a game where USC takes advantage of some of those mistakes and outlasts Washington. And this is also kind of a game where Caleb will kind of try to I can see Caleb trying to reassert himself. Even on our odds board, he's down to 8th in the Heisman, and it's listen, he doesn't play defense. He had that one bad game against Notre Dame. It was one bad game. The dude's still incredible. So yeah, I have the Trojans. I have the Trojans here covering and winning this one.
Steve, where are you going?
I don't know.
Do you dare touch the over 76.5?
I did think it'd be funny to pick the over because it would I think this is going to be a points palooza. I legitimately think this will be a points palooza, but I think taking the over unders is a cop out because I don't understand it most of the time, anyways. So there's my 2 cents. Looking at these 2 teams, 2 really good quarterbacks, 2 defenses that they do things at times. Sometimes they produce turnovers, and other times they're Swiss cheese. So it's I think 3 points is the right spread for this. And I'm going to pick Washington
Oh,
with 17 question marks after that.
all right. Vito.
So
Apparently, totals are not allowed according to Stieg, but it's okay if you want to go with one.
Well, the funny thing is, he said it's a cop out, and I totally agree because sometimes just like, man, I don't want to touch the spread at all. -3, it's just, my heart goes Washington here, but they've been kind of playing with their food the past 2 games, and them and Oregon have technically been going opposite trajectories, and I think that game, if it was flipped, maybe it happens in the other direction. You're right about USC's run game. I mean, Marshawn Lloyd has 8.8 yards per rush against AP top 25 opponents. That's actually pretty impressive. 8 touchdowns on the year. He'll probably get 1,000 yards after. I'm sorry, he's at 766, 99 carries. But 7.7 average overall. That is nothing to sniff about. If you just decide to slow this game down and try to say we're going to do the opposite of what you expect us to do, maybe you can catch Washington sleeping a little bit. I think this will be pointsy, but I'm going to go under 76.5 because that is a stupid amount of points. And like literally 38-37 game, which is still very pointsy, gets the under. So unless this ends up being like USC versus Cal, which is what, like 50-49, I think that I tried to bet a Washington over earlier this year and they burned me. So I think that this game can go a lot of different ways, and I don't expect that USC defense to do anything. But I do expect them to try to slow this down by running all over Washington. So let's see where it goes. Let's go under. And that is a cop-out, and I will own that.
Interesting note about the under. It's just kind of offensively, neither of these teams run a lot of plays per game. Washington is 103rd with 62 plays a game. USC is 89th with 64 plays per game. So that would be maybe something good towards the under. Now, on the flip side, Washington's defense is on the field for 75 plays a game, which is 129th, and USC's 70, which is 109th. So I don't know. But I think if USC decides to commit to running the ball, I think the under's definitely in play. So I like that one, Vito.
I wish just one last thing. I wish this game was like at 10 p.m. because this would be a perfect Pac-12 after dark game. I know it's 7:30, so it's still kind of there, but this needs to be like happening at midnight where you just watch the full day of football.
You need to be able to flip over from this next game we're going to talk about, LSU at Alabama. If you could flip over from LSU Alabama to Washington USC, that would have been beautiful. But we've got LSU at Alabama. Alabama is a 3-point favorite. The total is at 60.5. You've got great offense versus a great defense, and then maybe a not so great offense against a not so great defense. I'm going Alabama. I'm just going to stick. They're at home. I think LSU's defense is worse relatively than Alabama's offense. They also they're down. One of their best defensive linemen just got out for the year. I know they're down some defensive backs as well. And Alabama likes to chuck the ball deep. So give me Alabama -3 at home. Stieg, where are you going here? Alabama has been your nemesis this year.
Yeah, I don't want to pick this because I've been burned every single Bama game this year. So
I'm going
Seth,
back to double check.
Right,
I think you're wrong in every single.
I think I am as well. Seth, if I can make a request, I go last here so that I can see what everyone else picks, so I can pick with the majority to assume that doesn't happen and assure it.
So Stieg has lost. Stieg has only missed 15 picks this year. 4 or 5 have been on Alabama games. So
phenomenal. Thank you, Nick Saban.
We'll flip it over to Nick here. Nick, what are you rolling with? LSU's unbelievable offense or Alabama the home with the steady defense? Which way are you going?
I'm going LSU here. I think they're gonna take a lot of cues from what Texas did and try to do the same thing. First of all, for this rivalry, like I love this rivalry because just it always exudes a big fight element, like a heavyweight title fight element. Even though both of these teams are not as great as they've been like at their absolute peak. Take the 2019 LSU Alabama game, how intense that game was, but it's all like LSU Alabama always has like this big time feel. It's always fun to watch. LSU heading into this game actually has the most explosive offense in the country. They're averaging 552.9 yards per game on 8.09 yards per play. And they also have the best third down conversion rate in the country at 57.8%. Now, some of those stats are probably inflated from the Army game a couple of weeks ago where they wiped Army off the map 62-0, but still counts. We're going to still count it. So, yeah, LSU's defense is suspect. I do think Jalen Milroe and Jason McClellan will be able to run and move the ball a little bit against this LSU defense, and it could potentially be a little pointy here. That's why I think the over is also a good play. But when you break it down, I still trust LSU skill position players like Malik Neighbors to make a lot of incredible plays in this game, or at least more plays than their counterparts in Alabama. Plus, Jaden Daniels has been incredible for this team. There's a reason why he's like one of the top Heisman contenders right now, quietly. So I think LSU is going to be able to go into Tuscaloosa and pull this off. And plus, the fear element for LSU isn't really there anymore. I mean, especially with this team, because considering that they beat them last year, and last year's Alabama team was better than this year's Alabama team. So, yeah, I have the Tigers covering and winning on the road here.
Yeah, for all the accolades that the quarterback and receiver get, LSU's also number one in rushing EPA as well, in rushing success rate. They are unbelievable on offense. Nate, where are you going? Are you going with the offense or with the Alabama defense here? That's kind of what the game boils down to, I suppose.
I'm taking Bama's defense. Jane Daniels has been fine. He's been good this year. I just don't trust him. And give me Jalen Milroe and that crew to just be better. And LSU has the worst head coach. So give me Saban. Give me the Bama defense. They're going to win. And I do think point win.
Oh, interesting. Alt line. I do think home field is important here in this one. Vito, which way are you going?
I kind of wanted to like LSU. Jaden Daniels is having a heck of a season, both throwing the ball and rushing the ball. And outside of that ridiculous ending to that Ole Miss game, they could have been running the table since losing that opener against Florida State, which, you know, again, first game is always going to be what it is. But I just got it's nighttime in Tuscaloosa. There's no way Nick Saban's losing 2 years in a row to LSU, especially to Brian Kelly. I just think when it comes to crunch time, that defense is going to figure it out. You're going to get a steady run game, and I think they finally figured out what to do to make Milroe and this offense tick. I just think there's no way you're not losing to LSU 2 years in a row. Saban's not doing that. I trust him too much in this spot at home.
I got to be honest. I thought I'd be on the outside here with Alabama. I thought LSU was going to be the pick for most people. Steeg, you got 3 for Alabama, 1 for LSU. Well, great.
Congratulations, Nick. Yeah, seriously, Nick. Congratulations on a well-earned victory this week, picking the Bama LSU game, because I am Alabama's curse.
This might be the week you turn it around. We'll see. Hopefully, but now it's time to go off the board. We've all made our picks. Pretty split in the last couple of games. I expect not really, actually. Nick is the outlier right here this week, so could have a really good week, or the other way around. We'll see. So we shall see. Now we go to off the board. Let's start with Nick. Nick, where are you headed this week? Last week, you've been, what do you got, 3 in a row off the board here? And you should have had 4 in a row because that Mizzou game was the Mizzou LSU game.
Yeah,
was
that was rough.
Blah.
I am going with the Gamecock Bowl. I'm going Jacksonville State plus 15.5 against South Carolina.
Ooh.
Not saying like they'll win that game outright, but man, this South Carolina team just doesn't have really much going for it right now. They are bad, and I think that the only thing that they really have to play for the rest of the season is beating and probably equally bad Clemson team, man. Whereas this Jacksonville State team in their first year in FBS, 7-2 with old Rich Rod as the head coach, should be going bowling, but similar to James Madison, stupid NCAA transition rules. So I think that they'll be motivated and they'll come out and like at least make things very uncomfortable for old Shane Beamer in Columbia here. So I have Jacksonville State covering this one.
Yeah, if they lose this one, somebody might be getting a really good special teams coordinator here next year, and Shane Beamer. I'm going a similar direction. This could maybe qualify as a sicko game. I'm not sure. In terms of contrasting motivations here, I'm going to take Nebraska -3 on the road at Michigan State. Michigan State's really bad. Nebraska has a chance to make a bowl, I think, if they win this one. First bowl since 2016, I believe. They've been playing much better as of late. So I'm going to go with Nebraska -3 on the road. Is that a sicko game? The total is 34.5, I think, last time I checked. So that qualifies as kind of a sicko game, right? Even though it's a Power 5.
It's a sicko game, but good God, like what was Scott Frost doing all this? 26, bro, you can make a ball game the entire time. You're playing the Big Ten West. Good Lord.
Do you want to live in Nebraska?
He was apparently he was frequenting bars and talking to co-eds a little too much, but
yeah.
Ew, Joey Freshwater over here. I like Matt Rule just runs into a building and goes, "We're gonna be steady," and he just does his thing.
I like Matt Rule. Vito, let's go to you. Where are you heading off the board? Are you conventional or are you going sicko?
Man, there's a lot of good stuff. I had a list just to see where everybody else was gonna go, but screw it. I'm gonna go full on sicko here because you don't even have to worry about the points anymore because Brian Ferentz, smell you later. I'm going Iowa Northwestern under 30.5 because this game is gonna be disgusting. Sorry, Will Kennedy, our Northwestern friend. It would be great if they can pull this one out, but Iowa has gotten the under, I think, every game they've played this year, and it keeps progressively getting lower. I don't really see how any of these offense, like against Iowa's defense, I don't understand how you routinely have the best defense in the league, and you can't have an offense better than 130. It's just flabbergasting to me.
It's actually the Will Kennedy Bowl. He covers Iowa State. Or he covers Iowa State.
He does. It is the Will Kennedy Bowl, and I'm sorry, my friend. I am going with the under. I hope your Cats put up a good fight, but this might be like 10-2. Actually, throwing a couple extra safeties in there. I'm hoping for all the safeties. I'm going under there. This might not hit, but man, that is a sick
over under on how many World Series games it takes to beat the scoring in this game.
And to add to the sicko part, it's in Wrigley Field, so like the vibes are going to be all kinds of weird here.
Oh,
it's going to be a nice day up in Chicago,
and might get a baseball
it's
score.
Just unbelievable. 3:30 on Peacock. It's not even on regular TV.
Yeah, there'd probably be an FCC fine if it was on regular TV. So, all right,
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's go to Stieg.
I've got a callback here. Beginning of the year, my little was UTEP goes bowling. It ain't looking pretty right now, fellas, but it's still alive. That's the most important part, which is why I'm picking UTEP to pull a little bit of an upset and beat Western Kentucky. I have no stats. I have no information to back this up. This is purely straight selfish. This is me wanting to correct about UTEP making a bowl game, and please fight for me. Please, I'm begging you.
Dana Dimmel, do you have one more in you?
Well, Western's not like they might not even go to the Conference USA title game. They've lost a couple of games in conference, so you may be onto something there.
This is the classic double. This is the classic double down here.
This is
UTEP
the doublest
plus
of
8.
double down.
They are at home.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
don't
Sorry, I
just
should have
go
said that. I should have
into
said
you
that.
don't just go into El Paso.
Don't
and
get
win by more
no
than
one.
7.
No one enters the Warden and wins.
All right, Nathan.
I am
You were the
shocked.
king off the board to start the year. You're back on track here the last couple of weeks.
I'm shocked none of you picked this game.
Is it
Notre Dame
USF and Memphis?
-3 at Clemson? Are you kidding me?
That was on
In
the short
what
list.
world
I almost
is
picked Clemson.
Clemson just a 3-point underdog?
I almost
This
picked
team
Clemson.
is terrible.
Tyler from Spartanburg.
You gonna call into the radio show?
I mean, good Lord. Dabo lost his freaking mind. It was hilarious. And they talked about it in Split Zone Duo. Maybe the lead up to the question wasn't great. He was definitely going for the hot zing and couldn't do it. But, man, Notre Dame, are you kidding me? -3 all day.
Yeah, I thought about taking Clemson just as a feel play, just as like a vibe. Just Dabo, you can't come out and talk all that noise on your show and then lose at home. But tell me, this sounded familiar. This is what Dabo said about their 4 losses this year. Does this ring a bell? Clemson beat Clemson 4 times. Does that kind of sentiment sound familiar from what we've heard recently around these parts? You change a couple things here and there, we're undefeated. So
We're just
I think it's embedded in the culture.
Just a couple games. So, and maybe we'll be saying that next week. If we could have changed a couple of our picks, we'd be undefeated. But we'll see. Thank you for watching. Let us know if we made some bad picks. Make fun of Steve if the Alabama pick goes awry again. Leave a like, leave a comment, help us game the YouTube algorithm. We'll be back next week reviewing these picks and making more picks. Thank you for watching.
See ya.